Violent Nature 2024. This is a very recent slasher movie. I like to give spoiler warnings, so if you haven't seen In a Violent Nature, in order to discuss it, Scott and I are going to go into full spoilers. I remember talking to you about it, asked you if you'd seen it. You said yes, and I said I have a lot to say about it, and you said so did you. It's interesting, like I've been going, a theme about this episode is like, I'm not sure how to interpret this. I'm not sure, like, I wasn't sure if Lost After Dark was actually deliberately being funny until it was eventually deliberately being funny. I'm not sure if In a Violent Nature is sort of like this postmodern disassembling of what it is we find appealing about slasher movies, if it's some kind of smart and art-minded, assessment of the psychology that makes people like you and I enjoy these movies, or if the director just played a lot of the Friday the 13th video game and got obsessed with these POV walking sequences of Jason Voorhees. Johnny, our killer in this movie, is very much of the realm of Jason Voorhees. He was wronged, he was murdered, and when people desecrate his grave or steal his trinkets, he comes back to life and he will kill the shit out of anyone until he gets his satisfaction and presumably goes back to sleep until the next round of kills. That is all very familiar. What's not familiar is the approach that, for the most part, with very few exceptions, we stay with Johnny, the supernatural killer, at all times. Even when he's walking through the woods randomly, even when he backpedals to go get a hatchet that he left in a tree stump, like, we stay with him, we follow him, and the movie doesn't help us with creepy score, all the sounds diegetic. Wet footprints, birds chirping, crunching on the ground, and it's a 93-minute movie, and I would guess 15 minutes or so of the movie is just dedicated to those kinds of shots. It almost seems to be testing your patience. But we also have some of the craziest kill sequences that we've seen in a while. And considering you and I have talked about the Terrifier franchise, it kind of puts it in interesting company. But then I go back to the question of why. Why are the kills handled this way? The first two kills that we see, definitely the first kill we see, is quite restrained. Johnny's hand is reaching towards this guy as he's cowering, and then we smash cut, and his hand is soaking wet, and he's reaching for something else, and we pretty much understand that something terrible happened to that guy. In another case, a woman disappears under the water, and then her body just floats to the surface. So you think, oh, so they're also being pretty restrained in how they're not giving us this payoff. Until all of a sudden they start giving us this payoff to an almost over-the-top, ridiculous, this is a different movie. Like, we went from subtle, spooky, disturbing kills to an over-the-top, hatchet, reanimator kill. And why? Why did we make that decision? And again, I wrestle with it. It doesn't seem like it's personal with Johnny except for in a couple of cases, but I understand why. The sheriff character that we're introduced to apparently put Johnny back in the ground last time. So Johnny really takes his time killing that sheriff character like it's a brutal and seemingly personal event. But the other people just seem to be there. So is he a cunning stalker and slasher? Is he just a monstrous supernatural thing that doesn't think things out? It seems from kill sequence to kill sequence, it's just whatever they do to do this kill sequence. He kind of lacks a definition as a just other than, I'm going to kill these people in the coolest way that filmmakers can come up with. Do I like the movie? Absolutely. I do like the movie. I will endorse the movie. I think that it's kind of taking the slasher genre in a different direction while kind of backing the uptick that Terrifier seems to be asking for in our violence. But what I want to talk to you about is it about anything? Are we being confronted? Are they trying to do a funny games thing where they're shaming us for liking this? Why is this approach used and why is it effective? So that's a thumbs up review, but again, a little bit wrestling with it.
Myself, I really liked this movie. I liked it more the second time I watched it.
Agreed.
The first time, I didn't know what I was getting into. So the first time that I was watching Johnny walking, and then continually walking, and then it fades into another scene of him walking. And I think I out loud probably said, "What am I watching? What is this? The movie? Is this what it's going to be?" I didn't really understand what was happening, and then it was just not traditional. And I think going in the second time, nothing about the movie is really traditionally done. It goes against everything that you're supposed to do in these movies. There's a formula. There's the way that you're supposed to do this, and they go against all of it. Starting with the 4:3, it's not in widescreen either on purpose. And you're thinking, okay, sometimes movies will do that for the intro, but it's just framed differently. I definitely had that idea of, it felt like Friday the 13th, the game, because the camera's behind Jason and you are walking a lot in the woods, and it had that, and you hear characters start talking off camera, and as he gets closer, you hear them a bit more clear, and again, it's sort of video game-ish that way. And so the first time it was a little uneasy because it was not familiar, and second time going in, I started to appreciate the difference because they took a different approach. Everyone says it's kind of from his point of view perspective. It's not. That made me think more like the Maniac remake.
Right.
That's point of view. It's not like...
It's point of view in that we stay with Johnny for the most part. There's only a very few scenes where we stray away from his presence.
Yeah, I think there's two really, and I think we got to talk about one later, but that's the ending. The other one is probably the campfire you're thinking of, right?
Yeah.
And that one I give a pass to because we see that conversation because Johnny sees it. Yeah. We only see and hear what he sees and hears. And I really find it kind of cool in a way that there's a horror movie going on in the background. A traditional Friday the 13th sequel. Yeah. But we're not seeing that part of the movie. We're just seeing what Jason does in between kills.
Oh, I think you mean Johnny, but yeah.
No, but like if it was a Friday the 13th movie,
absolutely,
right, that would be like what happens after.
I also picked up on the second time. I think his ability to hear his victims is part of his power. Like he can hear those two girls' conversation across the lake crystal clearly. He can hear where his victims are, and that will change his direction of walking. Like I think that's part of his abilities. He can just sort of home in on where the teenagers are doing their teenage stuff.
And it's almost like I heard someone's like a reverse jump scare movie because you know where he is all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like but you're almost like it's just so different. And I like that they challenged me and gave me something new and introduced something that I haven't really thought of or watched this way before.
Yeah.
Like I kind of mentioned, there's a horror movie going on in the background, and that's what I mean. It's like a traditional teenagers all getting together, and they're having a party. There is some sort of dynamic going on with the group because you hear snippets of the conversations, but if Johnny's not there, we're not going to hear the next part. So they take a picture at a campfire, and apparently they see Johnny in the background because they talk about it later, but we don't really see that scene where they're talking about it, or one of the kids has like a dead dad, and they're going together for him. There's some sort of awkwardness between a couple of the people. We don't really get all that backstory, and we realize it's not really important. We don't really need to care about these kids in a way. Well, some people complain about we're seeing so much footage of Johnny just walking, and I can see people getting bored of it, saying, "Well, why we're just watching this guy walk for so long? We're not getting any movement or what's happening." The alternative, if we don't see him walking, is we're going to have these kids partying and saying stupid dialogue.
Exactly.
Or
the same,
right? So,
the same boring shit that we have to sit through in every single slasher movie. Are these two going to get together? They're going to bully this character until he leaves, and when that character has disappeared, they're going to think he just left because he was, being put upon. They learn the origin of Johnny, all that in the background. But yes, that to us is tedious. Or should be tedious. It should be as tedious as just watching this guy walk through the woods, right? It follows the same sort of slow first act of the slasher movie because he's got to figure out who he wants to kill and how he wants to go about his business, and he doesn't want to do it all right away. Baby steps, Take a few of the people off in the fringes first, and then really make your presence loudly known. And sometimes it was really calculated. I thought it was cool when he put the stick in the car to set the horn off, and then he just did a loop around the house. So when the guy came out to check out the car horn, he just walk up behind him. But again, it seemed very conscious and calculated. So in that scene, it seems like this is a vicious, calculating hunter. Whereas in other scenes, it's just a monster that will rip your guts out. I'm wondering if the sequel might not answer a lot of our questions as to whether or not this is a movie that's sort of challenging its audience or just feeding it what it imagines that it wants. Either way, I think it works, but I think it's more interesting as a sort of challenge. Why do we like these killings, and why do we like it as much or more when we're siding, or at least in the point of view of the killer instead of the victims? Because the movie still works. It still does everything we want a slasher movie to do.
Yeah, I think it's because it's different, and I can see it being really polarizing. A lot of people I could see, even 50-50, I like it or I hate it. And I can understand that. Myself, I really dug it, especially, like I said, the second time. You mentioned the background about Johnny and how the characters learn about it kind of off camera, and they're finding their friends off camera while we follow Johnny as he's walking one location to the other. And they find out how to kill him again, and they set a trap for him, but we don't even know what the trap is because it's like we're with Johnny. I just found it kind of neat that way, that we don't really know what the characters are doing. And I realized this time that it's funny because this is a part 3 of this series.
Right.
Because in the first part, I guess, is
the origin story.
Massacre. We meet that sheriff or park ranger, I guess.
Right.
Or was he a sheriff? I can't remember. But anyways, when he sees Johnny, he's like, "Oh, you remember me? This sheriff is in part 2 of this franchise."
That's
he
right.
puts him down this time where his dad did in the first one. I mean, there is no part 1 and part 2, but
in
traditionally,
the lore,
this is part 3 of a trilogy. And we don't know the background about the power of this locket. Why does this keep his body at rest? We start this movie knowing nothing. But if you watch the part 1 and 2 that don't exist, you would know all the background. And I don't know. I kind of think it's really a neat idea.
I think the one clumsy bit of exposition that I have hard time with is when Johnny looks at himself in the mirror and he sees that vision of his dad giving him the locket. It just felt like they had no other way they could think of to give us that information. And I honestly feel like we would have intuited that he was after the locket. Like, they probably didn't need that. But they just did that little bit of hand-holding. The other elephant in the room that I don't think we've adequately discussed is the high quality of the kills in this movie. Like, yeah,
we got to get after that, for sure. There are some really, like you said, the first kill is kind of off screen. I like the way they handled it, though, with the hand reaching for the guy screaming, and then cuts to now his hand is just dripping with red.
Yeah.
But we do walk by the body again, and then you see his arm laying far away from the body, and think, oh, shoot, okay. It was kind of a neat first kill, but we're not going to blow our load too early, but we're going to show you that this guy has some power. But when they do the full, there's a lot of long shots in this too.
Yeah.
It's almost like they put the camera down in one spot and they go at it. Is there a kill that really stood out in this movie for you?
Well, the yoga kill, which on the second part, again, it could be played different ways. I don't know why that kill was so vicious, but the second time I watched it, she had that line about, well, we're going to go up the hill and stretch myself out, and then you can come up the hill and maybe I'll stretch you out. And it's like, oh, but Johnny really does, quote, stretch her out, doesn't he? Was that deliberate? But
I think so.
That
I didn't
kill,
catch that to the second one either.
That kill is too far in a way for me. How does this woman even keep her feet? How is she still standing while he turns her inside out? Like, what are we even looking at? I mean, full
severe shot.
Yeah, full bars for like definitely going all out, but on a movie that had been restrained up to this point, we get a close-up on the vertebrae separating in her neck. And they forced her head through the hole that was created in her abdomen and then roll her down the hill. Apparently, when they shot it, they were supposed to roll all the way down the hill, but they thought it was funny that the body didn't make it down the hill. What did that character do to deserve this level of kill? Like, oh my. And again, this is a kill out of the Hatchet franchise, which is fine. You can do that. Like, even the guy who's standing by the tree and he gets the top of his head taken off, like, that's over the top, but not to the same cartoonish level. I think part of it is for that sequence, they got the crew that worked on Psycho Goreman to help with that kill. And they deal in a different type of violence. But I think that for me it would be better if it was at least grounded in a consistent reality as in what a human body can withstand. You know, for me the kill of the movie is a guy getting his head smashed with a rock, all in one long take as he's trying to crawl away, and we see Johnny slowly pick up the rock, slowly close the distance, and then an unbroken shot just obliterate this guy's skull. And I was like, I kept on expecting it to cut away at the last second, and boy did it ever not. And like, that was shocking, and wow. And again, the guy that was trying to drag him away, he threw his hatchet off of the screen, and we stopped hearing any more dialogue from that guy. So we kind of figure out what happened. And eventually, as he's catching up to the crawler, he passes the corpse of the... Again, sometimes it's restrained, and other times it's so ridiculously not restrained that it's like, what are we doing? And I think some of these answers will come to us in the next movie as to what he leans towards or like where he's going with this. I'm hoping he's not trying to shame us. I'm hoping it's like a conversation or just like a different take on an old sort of reliable formula. And on that respect, I like it a lot. The kills, even if it was shot straightly and we didn't go with this POV, the movie would be worthy of recommending just for the innovation of some of these kill sequences. Like, it's very, very well done. So, bravo.
Well, and I didn't realize they were doing a sequel. You mentioned that to me, and I was cautious. But after you said that the first time, I thought, I don't know if you can do this again.
Yeah.
Like, because now, just maybe making one thing, do we want to sit through another movie of Johnny walking?
What more do you bring to it other than upping the gore, right?
And are we going to change styles a bit? And one thing occurred to me that I got kind of excited about, even though I know it's not, an idea, but the sequel idea. How about a remake of this movie, but this time traditional slasher style from the kids' point of view,
right? Full
soundtrack and everything. I thought that would just be a neat sort of take on it. Almost like instead of calling it that one, would just be called Violent Nature.
Yeah.
It's not a sequel. I don't know. It's ideas or a prequel, maybe make the part 2 now, and then do the
work backwards
trilogy in reverse.
Yeah.
Maybe a found footage, because you gotta do something different with it, because this can't just be. There's something unique about this style. I could see maybe doing a found footage version or something, but I don't know how you handle the sequel, because you can't just do this. I don't know if you can get away with doing the same thing twice.
In slasher movies, usually you can get away with doing the same thing twice. So we'll see. But again, it's also, as you had pointed out, a polarizing movie. So half of the audience probably won't be coming back for the sequel, right? But the people who like it will like it a lot. Will it snowball the way Terrifier did, or has he sort of split the audience too dramatically? The other thing that makes me believe that he has a vision that's real about this, and it's not just about making a first-person video game slasher, he shot this movie in its entirety, basically, wasn't happy with it, and reshot the entire movie again. What we saw is his second shot at it. So, I mean, I'm supporting Canadian talent. I support the slasher genre. Please, if you haven't seen In a Violent Nature, even though we've spoiled it, I don't think we can really spoil the experience of watching it. And I also want to hit something you said earlier, too. It was so much better the second time I watched it. Like, the first time I was watching it, I was so not sure about what I was into that, like, my guard was up the whole time. I was kind of judging the movie. The second time I let go of all of that and just sort of looked at the technique and how they went about setting these things up, and I had a lot more fun with it. So
yeah, I think the first time I started to relax a bit after he was dragging that guy's body back to the ranger station with the headphones playing.
Yeah.
And he's got headphones on his severed head, and the battery starts wearing out, and so the music gets a little bit slower, and he throws his head through the window. And I think I kind of relaxed. At that point, I kind of, okay, this is what we're doing, and I kind of got into it a bit more. Yeah, I've heard something. I like that there was no soundtrack as well. It almost made it feel a little bit more real. I mean, the soundtrack was nature, as you mentioned. There's a lot of birds chirping, crunching of leaves, just the sounds of outdoors. I've even heard some people say that their opinion is it's not from the killer's point of view, it's from nature's point of view, and that's what the title means, violent nature. Because you do, when you look at it again the second time, there's shots from within the trees or really close to a tree trunk or something, and you see Johnny walk across. It's sort of also an interesting take on it, but I'm not sure if that was intended or not with the title, but
there it was.
Now we got to eventually get to the ending, since we've ruined everything else for this movie. But that's the big time when the point of view does for sure change.
Yeah.
At no point in the movie is it anything like the ending, where we have our final person getting slaughtered, an axe to the face, probably 500 times. Johnny just doesn't let up. He just
that was crazy.
And so we have the final girl then running away, gone mad at that point through the dark forest, and she's been running for a while, and you still hear that whack, whack, probably just in her mind, just being traumatized. But now for the first time, we're not with Johnny, we're following somebody else, behind her. And she gets picked up from a truck on the side of the road, and that's where most movies would end.
Nope, not this one.
Because that's kind of traditional. That's the end of the slasher movie. Either everybody dies or one person gets away, and then it's the end. You get picked up by a truck, and I'm thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Sally gets in the truck, and it's over. And she's insane, gone. But now it's almost like this extra scene that we get, and it's a strange scene because it's inside a truck, a lot of long takes again. She's picked up by, interestingly, a girl that was in Friday the 13th Part 2. She was that girl that tried to hook up with the boy in the wheelchair.
Right.
But anyways, I found that out after, so that's a neat connection. But there's a long conversation they have in that truck, and I'm not sure where it was going, but I found it really interesting. I can see a lot of people hating that scene as well, but I think that's the one time I felt a little uneasy and scared in the whole movie. Not scared, but because you're looking around, where is he? And
why are we still here? It should be over. I think it mostly works. There's this long monologue about a bear that this lady gives to her in the car, this catatonic, traumatized woman. And you keep waiting for this other shoe to drop. And I think that's what it's about. Is this old lady crazy? Is she related to Johnny? Is she helping Johnny in some way? Why haven't the credits rolled? And then she stops the car, and we framed her, and we can see the woods behind her. And is Johnny going to somehow come rushing out of the woods here? But no, I think it's just an epilogue. I think they consciously took it farther past the point than we always take it in the slasher movies. Like you say, she should have gotten the car should have driven away, and the camera should have stayed where she was, and the car would hit the horizon, and credits would roll. But no, they stay with her and her trauma. But I think the handover is that. Now she's in a, quote, violent nature, in this, shocked state that she has locked herself in. I think the second she drops that necklace and leaves it on the canister, Johnny is satisfied. But she is fucked up for the rest of her life. But did they have to make that much of a meal out of it? Certainly not. But it was interesting. They keep on doing the not expected thing from a slasher movie, and you keep thinking this isn't really working, except for then it did. So I'm really impressed. We're at 25 minutes on this review. Is there we might want to try and
how long?
We're at 25 minutes on this review, so I just want to try and maybe wrap it up here.
Well, that's how long they spent after Johnny died before the movie ended. So
Right.
it's only fair that we talk that long.
No, it's worth talking about for sure. For sure.
Yeah, because you're right. The movie ends then, and they stop the bleed. There's that moment when they open the truck door, and there's a long shot of the woods where she's up there. And I found myself, even the second viewing, just looking all over the woods. Where is he? Is he out there? But they've been driving long enough. He shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time in the movie we don't know where Johnny is, and it does create a little bit of tension. Like, he's there, but he's not.
Yeah.
And I think of movies like Pulp Fiction, where we're talking to Vincent, and they're talking about Royale with cheese, and it's the scenes in between the scenes you would normally have in a movie.
Yeah.
It's like we don't see the epilogue usually. What happened after?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I just find it kind of a really interesting movie to watch for those reasons. Just what's different, and a lot of people I could see hating it. Don't try and piss me off. Some people maybe feel like they're doing this stuff just to piss me off because they know they're not supposed to.
Right.
In this one, I enjoyed the challenge it gave me.